Hello, everybody, and welcome to the sort of middle of December, the last Trips and Traps that we're doing before we go on our holiday break. And just as a point of note, this will be the last Trips and Traps we do this year, and we'll be back January 6th after the holidays. But I'm Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
And we'll have 6 races to bring you in this segment to fulfill all your Trips and Traps needs till you get the next episodes coming up next month in the new year. And 3 races in the first segment here. We'll take a look at horse LANDLASH. And, you know, one of the reasons why I like this horse, wanted to show this horse, is because this was a trainer change to Leah Giamatti this day. And I think LANDLASH ran the best race of her career so far. She's only run 4 times, but I thought this was her best effort.
Yeah, no, I thought she ran pretty well, too. All in all, we'll show it through. She has some trouble. And you might make an argument she could have won, but the other thing is she did have some things go right for her here. Yeah. And the question you have to ask yourself is how good do you think this field was?
Field not that great. Does sit a good trip in here behind 2 speeds, and they did go pretty fast. I thought for this level. This was a state bred 2-year-old filly claiming race 25,000, and our maiden claiming race 25,000. And you know when you go 22 and 3, 46 and 2, that's you know that's pretty good fractions for this group. And you see right now LANDLASH getting a good trip.
Yeah, getting a good trip, but it was a pace. It's a funny pace. You could say it collapses. The winner's well out of the picture now. Winner comes from, I guess, dead last with Jackie Davis, and the horse who's sitting 4th sort of on the outside of the 1 ends up running, I think, 3rd here. Yeah, we're on 3rd because LANDLASH will actually run her down. And the winner actually getting a very good ride from Jackie, the old inside-out move. Saves ground the turn, moves up, and runs them all down at 35-1.
This is where LANDLASH gets into trouble. You see the triangle of horses in and around LANDLASH there, while the 7, My Lucky Way, is going to come up alongside. You have the 4 horse on the lead in here, Principessa Heather, and LANDLASH is going to have to steady in behind horses. Has to wait, you know, till the 7 horse clears before LANDLASH can get outside and make a run, and finally she's going to make a run, and you know also has some trouble here, tries to lug in a little bit, makes a good run here to pick up My Lucky Way for 2nd place here, but you know the winner does get a pretty good trip. Winner was a big price long shot, 34-1 for Rodrigo Obio, but all in all I thought LANDLASH ran well. Did get a good setup there, but had some things go wrong in the stretch.
Yeah, I would say so. The problem I have with the horse is too much went right for the horse, and I don't know. We'll see what kind of field they meet next time. I have a feeling when this group assembles next time, I'll be looking for the newer face.
And might be the case. The second race we'll go to is the 4th race from December 3rd, and we're going to take a look at KARAKORUM on Black, a speed horse who gets into some trouble here at the start. An important note about KARAKORUM on Black: we'll be running here on Friday. Yeah,
he's running Friday, which is the day after we're taping. We weren't here on Wednesday. We're not going to show the whole race. There's just not a lot to see, but you'll see what happens to him at the start.
Jumps up a little bit, breaks in, gets bumped. So pretty much, you know, for a speed horse to have that happen to him, just basically gets eliminated there, and then we'll pick it up in the stretch. I think the jockey Rudy Rodriguez, knowing that this horse does his best work on the lead, you know, not abusing the horse down the stretch here. Kind of another horse comes in a little bit, he has to, you know, steady maybe briefly there, but just not abusing the horse, saving best for the next time.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point whether it works or not for KARAKORUM on Black, and he's not in an impossible spot Friday, and hopefully you'll see this race before he runs, as if he does well, and hopefully you missed it if he doesn't do well. But it's important to watch the breaks and watch starts, because this was an odd race where it looked like there was a lot of speed on paper, and there ended up being a pretty fast pace, but not involving horses we thought were going to be on the pace. And a lot of times the starts completely alter the complexion of the race, and they completely compromise a horse's chances. You take a horse that needs to be up or near the lead, gets in trouble at the start. Who cares when the horse runs 8th in there? The horse lost all chance to start. It's just an immediate X.
Yeah, I agree. And one more race in this first segment here. We'll take a look at the DQ race from Thursday, the 9th race. A lot being discussed about this race, and we'll take a look at it from start to finish.
Yeah, I wanted to go through this race, and this was the last race where the heavy favorite Talk Therapy was taken down here. And, you know, Talk Therapy goes to lead. It's a very good ride. Ramon Dominguez, and from that sense, getting him right over, getting ahead of the other speeds in this race, because there were some on paper, and it feels like if you ride aggressively, you get rewarded, because other people are always grabbing. And while the pace is fair, it's not blistering fast. And the horse who runs 2nd, CROMWELL Alley, is going to put up, was taken back by Joe Bravo, and he didn't have any speed in figure 2. I thought CROMWELL Alley got a less than terrific ride in this race, and was much the best in here. You know, a lot's been said about this DQ, and we're not, obviously we all have opinions on DQs, and we're not going to all agree with the stewards, and they don't all agree with each other. I mean, the votes aren't going to always be 3-0 upstairs, so there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I read a lot of people saying this was the worst DQ I've ever seen in my life. Horse players are like jockeys. You know, we make fun of jockeys. They say, this is the best horse I've ever ridden in my life. And we all laugh and say, that's like the 37th best horse that rider's ever ridden. Well, horse players, this is like the 87th worst DQ I've ever seen in my life that I've heard from horse players. believe it or not, and I've talked about herding before, I thought the winner should have come down here.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at Cromwell Alley where he is going into the turn here, and we'll see Cromwell Alley go 4 wide, and I think this is why you make the case that he ran the best race anyway here, this wide move around the turn while the winner and the horse gets taken down. Talk Therapy remains on the front end. You know, as they come down the stretch, you'll see Ramon Dominguez try to, you know, race ride, come out a little bit, and we'll take a look at the head-on too here, but coming for the top of the stretch, there's no doubt about it that Cromwell Alley has had a much tougher trip here than Talk Therapy.
Yeah, this was, to me, not the kind of ride you want to give. The slingshot move on the turn and 2-turn races on the inner may not be the way to go unless the race is totally collapsing. And you see them coming together here. And remember that Cromwell Alley was 3-watt path, but also the Talk Therapy was on the rail. And you see that Cromwell Alley's coming to him. He drops back a little bit. He comes to him again, and he doesn't quite get him. And you can see a little bit they're off the rail. It's hard to tell in the pants. The question is, how much did they come off? Well, Cromwell Alley, who started on the rail, you will see him start to drift here. Now, simultaneously, the horse outside of him, Cromwell Alley, will drift also. He goes out, he was getting him. And then you're going to see Talk Therapy drifting again. There's no contact, but I'm sorry. Contact doesn't have to be made for a horse to have been intimidated. And at least in my opinion, I think herding intimidates other horses. This horse lost by that much. Was he going to win? I don't know, but it's hard to say that he didn't get the fairest chance possible by the other horse drifting him. And I think people make too much saying there needs to be contact.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, and I think you know, one that'll go on for quite a while in terms of decisions like that. Obviously, you know, a tough decision I think for the stewards to make there when there's no contact. You really have to be sure that you know the other horse was affected by that herding incident or by the intimidation.
Right, and we've talked about herding here before, and I think it's one of the more. It's something that needs to be looked at more often because there's a fine line between what's okay and what isn't. I don't have the answer, but I thought it was an interesting race to go over, and I'm not sure I agree if it was the worst DQ of all time. Wherever that, I wonder what the worst DQ of all time. I guess that was when they took down the wrong horse one day many years ago. But that does it for our first episode of Trips and Traps. And once again, that email address is tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com. We love hearing your thoughts. We appreciate the fact that everybody watches. And remember, we'll have a second segment, but remember, this will be the last episode of 2009.
And come on back for that second segment.